morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to episode 12 of The Season Keepers, the show where the only two people we recommend keeping for the season is us. My name's Matt, aka Clean Sheet Wipeout.
And my name's James, aka FPL Drug.
Good to see you again, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How's it going down in Bamford, isn't it?
Yeah. Thankfully, we're not in the same lockdown as you guys, so we've got a bit more freedom at the moment, but it's only a matter of time, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's creeping back up again, but we can keep you company here.
Exactly. Right. Talking about company, I think we've got a lot to talk about FPL-wise, Sky-wise, Chapman-wise, so we might as well crack on.
Yeah.
Right, let's get straight into the games. Aston Villa 0, Leeds 3. Patrick Bamford.
He stole the show, particularly in the second half, didn't he? His finishing has come a long way. It's really clinical and a great, fantastic goal. It's just smashed in the corner.
I think, was it his second goal where he looks like he's surrounded by 4 Villa defenders and then just seems to cut back inside, find that gap and then hit top corner?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, mate.
Yeah, steady on. It didn't look like a Bamford goal. Like it looked like an elite striker. So maybe we're going to have to think about Bamford a bit more seriously.
He's got more FPL points than Calvert-Lewin. And I didn't realise he's actually owned by 28.5% of the game, which came as a bit of a surprise, given you don't really see him in the Twitter template, but there's a lot of casuals out there that have saw his price at the start of the season, gambled and potentially rewarded, although one of our good mates in our leagues benched him. So there might have been
I can sort of understand that based on his last couple of performances before the Villa game. I think that's why he's done it. And obviously he's been stung there with the hat-trick that's just come out for Villa.
Very much so.
I think he only blanked 2 games before the Villa game. I can double check.
Yeah. Blank against Wolves and then blank against City, but then obviously
given the fixtures, like you can't really complain there. No. So I personally would have started him against Villa had I owned him, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were blindsided by Villa a little bit. I think you included. You've gone 3 in your wild card, and obviously Villa played well in the first half. To be fair, I think those with Jack Grealish both in Sky and fantasy football were incredibly unlucky. Obviously he has one cleared off the line. He has the potential penalty. In my opinion, wasn't really a penalty, but again, could have got credit there, and he could have got an assist. So. You've probably missed out on at least 10, 12 points maybe with Grealish. And another day, you've gambled, you've got the points. And a lot of people captained him in the Sky against Villa. Obviously, it was against Leeds because it was the prime fixture. Everybody owns him, that has kind of taken Sky seriously. And he was the obvious choice. And I think we ended up with 2 points. So,
yeah, it didn't pay off. Fine margins there with Grealish's, not goal.
No.
I'll count my... triple up more of a double up because I don't really count the keeper.
You got to count the keeper.
Martinez is getting the saves. It's fine. It doesn't matter if you get a clean sheet.
He got 6 in this game.
Away. Yeah, 6 saves. On another game, he might have even crept into bonus. Maybe.
Yeah, I think had Leeds maybe kept it to 2, then he would have been all right. But
2 bonus for Johnson. Joke.
Well, I think let's then move. We'll get on to Johnson. Don't you worry, mate. Don't you worry. I'm holding back. So we've got West Ham 1, Man City 1. A surprise result.
Yeah, surprise result and another good performance from West Ham. Great energy levels from them. Kufau, obviously great delivery for Antonio's fantastic overhead.
On your bench.
Brilliant finish. Yeah, firmly last on my bench. I stand by that decision because you're at home against City and it's a defender.
Yeah.
You're not going to start him.
No.
Maybe you might do down the line when he's capable of X amount of assists. Obviously, he's got 2 assists in his last 2 games.
Yep.
But I'm glad I brought him in on the wild card. Clearly, he's a decent asset, even for fixtures such as City.
Yeah, well, I mean, what was it, post Gameweek 9? Man City. West Ham's fixtures turned, don't they? So, he's then probably...
He wasn't brought in for this week. He was brought in for that run when it changes, and hence why he was on my bench. But yeah, I'm contemplating playing him against Liverpool, but I don't think I will. Hopefully, he won't sting me again with another assist. But
Yeah,
we'll have to see.
I wouldn't be risking them against Liverpool. That's for sure. But obviously, Antonio got a goal again, but then went off again with what looks like a recurrence of his hamstring tweak that he had obviously the week before. We haven't had news at all about the injury yet, but it seems like it from ex West Ham employee on Twitter. It sounds like it's not as good as they first hoped, but we'll have to wait and see for official news, won't we?
Yeah, that'll be a bit of a headache for Sky. He's in both my Sky teams. I think he's in yours as well.
He is, yeah. We'll come on to the Sky
Yeah, we'll discuss that
situation.
later. But in terms of official FPL, obviously he's a great price, but if he's not fit, then you're going to have to look elsewhere.
And then moving on to the other side, Man City. What's going on with them?
Just doesn't look quite right, does it? Up for going forward, it's just not ticking. I think Sterling obviously should have probably put away some of the chances he had, where he's through on goal. He had plenty of time to slot that away. Like a confident Sterling puts that away last season.
Dreadful first touch. Like the touch that puts him in, the ball gets away from him. Yeah, last season when he was on form, he'd be slotting that home and winning the game for City, wouldn't he? But I think City are really struggling, obviously, this striker situation that they've got at the moment. It's just, obviously, no Aguero, no Jesus. It's tricky. Sterling, as proven, isn't as clinical as he could be. Foden came on, changed the game a little bit, played really well. And then De Bruyne, obviously, came back on. That must have been frightening for West Ham, seeing De Bruyne come on as a sub. But, he looked good, but it's just not clicking. And I think Pep's trying to play a little bit with the back line, trying to get that a bit more solid, and they really need to get going sooner rather than later, because otherwise, even at this stage, they might find that they're a little bit too far off where they want to be.
I think so. I think they're a bit short, given the absences of Aguero and Jesus. I think obviously they've got the young lad, the Lap, I think it is, but I don't think he's quite ready to step up. So I don't know if they're going to make a loan move in January, or I guess they might have them back by then. But I still think they need to strengthen anyway.
I think that should have been one of their focuses. I mean, Pep hasn't bought a striker in at least, 3 seasons? Is it 3-4 seasons? That's surely, they haven't got a backup for Aguero and Jesus. And Aguero's injuries just keep mounting. He comes back, plays a couple of games, gets 60 minutes, and then it's something else. And then obviously Jesus has had a couple of injuries in the last couple of seasons. As soon as those two are out, you're struggling. And Sterling, I don't think he's the best asset playing through the middle. We want to see him obviously on the left cutting in. If he's then trying to play that false 9 running through, doesn't look as good an asset, does he?
No, not for FPL. No, I'd avoid. There's better options at that price.
Right, let's move on to Fulham 1, Crystal Palace 2, and a game you benefited from.
Oh, delightful. Obviously, the Rodriguez news or fake news from Ancelotti led to me putting Zaha in. I was like, great fixture. He's got a decent run. So I went for Zaha, and he paid me well. Goal and assist, generally looking sharp, getting involved in everything, even getting injured when he scores. But I think, obviously, it's Fulham, so that's worth me and other people who are thinking of bringing him in, taking them into account. He wasn't in my plans. It was only because of Rodriguez. Rodriguez was who I was set on. So I may even move back onto Rodriguez, but for the moment, I think I'm going to see how it goes with Zaha, because he's got a decent run.
Yeah, I don't blame you. He's got 48 points in the first 6 games, 5 goals and an assist. That's Zaha of old, really, that we're talking about there. And he looks sharp. He arguably should have got more points from this game. He obviously missed that header that came across, and 9 times out of 10, I think he buries that. And like you've touched on there, fixture-wise, obviously they've got Wolves away this weekend. I think it's tricky. But then they play Leeds, Burnley, Newcastle and West Brom in a run of 4 games. And there's goals in those games for Palace. So I think you've been wise to maybe go Zaha, and I actually wouldn't move off of him. I think he should be staying in your team.
Oh, I think he probably is, to be honest. The original plan, now I've got that extra money that I was saving for Rodriguez, I might use elsewhere. might probably end up banking the transfers. Obviously, I've just played my wild card, but
Yeah, I think that's probably the best decision, is to bank your transfer, especially this close to the next international break, which feels like,
yeah,
last one
yeah,
was yesterday.
exactly.
So it's mad how many internationals we're getting, but that's another subject. Obviously, we've got the issue where Van Aanholt made a return, but then when he came on, Mitchell just moved to the other side of the pitch, which was interesting. So for those that have got Mitchell, I wouldn't be taken out just yet. It's perhaps worth holding to see how they set up when Van Aanholt starts a game and whether Mitchell, plays, because it could have just been tactical and he didn't want to bring Mitchell off at the time. But we have to see that before you make that decision. And again, he's dirt cheap. He's 4 million, so you can't really be taking him out of your team just yet. You won't know where you move the funds.
Agreed. I think hold until it becomes a bit clearer, because I think people were expecting him to just Van Aanholt to slot straight into Mitchell's slot and then Mitchell to exit the team, but clearly that may not happen. So it's worth holding, I think.
And then
whatever
in
it is.
terms of Fulham, I think from an FPL point of view, the only player I'd touch with a barge pole would be Lookman. I thought he was incredibly unlucky. Obviously hit both posts, looks really sharp. I mean, their fixtures are still fucking dreadful. They've got West Brom this weekend, which, if you were wanting a gamble, maybe West Brom is the game to target. But after that, you've got West Ham, Everton, Leicester, Man City, Liverpool. Fulham are smashed.
I'd avoid, to be honest. I can't see any surprises happening either, to be honest.
No, and the only other one, Sky-wise, I think it's Kearney. Consistently seems to be hitting passing tier 2, I think it is. We can check that, obviously, when we talk and look at Sky. But I think he's the one that keeps coming up on the Sky Fantasy Football Hub pod, Kearney. But again, it's Fulham. So unless you're gambling on, hitting that tier every time, you're very unlikely to get any returns. And this is, the one pot shot that he takes from outside of the box and gets the goal, killing those clean sheets for a lot of Gaita owners. Another last-minute clean sheet gone for Palace, which must be bloody frustrating.
Oh, it's brilliant. I saw a couple of tweets sort of commenting as if they banked that clean sheet, but obviously completely ruined at the end.
Yeah,
happy to see tweets.
All right, let's move on to the next one. And the absolute bore fest that was Man United 0, Chelsea 0. Both teams just set up, I think, because they were scared of each other.
Yeah. As you often get in some of these big games, it's not quite the advertised schedule, really. It's a bit disappointing. I think what you could take out of it is Zuma might be an alternative to Chilwell as a cheaper alternative. Yep. The clean sheets, he got free bonus, and obviously he scored twice this season as well so far. So I think Zuma is one to think about as an alternative to Chilwell.
Yeah, and obviously Lampard's already come out and said Thiago Silva's minutes will be managed, whether obviously that's in the Premier League or the Champions League. He's already had a rest in the Prem, but I think he was probably one of their best players on the day. Obviously, he's played alongside Cavani before, so when Cavani came on, he gets that block in. He's kind of man marking him. I think he knows how he plays, really. And then you've also got obviously Reece James, who's one of those assets that I think is frustrating people, but at the same time, if you're holding and you're playing consistently, you're either looking at getting 1 point or you're looking at getting 8, That's kind of the way he's playing at the moment. So for his price, I think, he's still 5 million. With the rotation, obviously Champions League games being consistent at the moment, I think the top 6 are likely to rotate anyway. You're probably not going to get a consistent starting 11. I think it's worth holding Reece James at the moment because his ceiling is a lot higher than some of the other options.
True. I personally would be a bit anxious about Azpilicueta coming in occasionally. But if you're already on him, then maybe you want to put out other fires elsewhere. Then maybe it's worth keeping him and having a strong bench.
But yeah, I think if you're already on him, it's probably at this stage not worth the transfer to take him out. But I wouldn't be bringing him in. Like if you're on a wild card or you're looking, he's not worth that. But if you're on him for now, hold, because there's no guarantee like we saw, with Spurs that there's rotation there. So I'd keep him. Man United, on the other hand, Weren't great. I mean, obviously, you had Mendy made two, I think, terrific saves from Rashford. And then Cavani looked quite sharp when he came on, but they weren't that brilliant going forward. And again, the lineup, it just seems a little bit off. Obviously, they've got Martial, who's still suspended at the moment. They don't seem to be getting Donny van de Beek in the squad, he just looks so glum sat on the sidelines. Like, did you see that on the TV?
No, I didn't. But...
Oh, mate, after they made their third sub, the camera just pans to him and he looks like he wants to cry. He's just sat there thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? And I get, Solskjaer might be trying to bed him in, but everybody was raving about Van de Beek, signing for Man United and how he's going to, shore up that midfield. And it's not being played. At the moment, it's Fred and McTominay that's in there. And they're now, actively trying to play Juan Mata back into the team, and Greenwood starting from the bench. It just seems a bit odd for me.
Yeah, a bit inconsistent, a bit like not what you expected. You kind of expected him to be a sort of a staple of the team. Admittedly, Fred's been doing a lot better the last couple of seasons. Like, I think he's come on a long way. When he first came over, he didn't look that great at all, to be honest. But he's really sort of grown, I think, last season in particular.
Yeah, no, agreed. Quickly back to Chelsea. Obviously, we didn't touch on their attacking assets. Frustrating game for me, particularly. Obviously, as a Werner owner, and I'm still in two minds as to what to do with him, because Chelsea's fixtures, they're okay. Burnley, Sheffield United, Newcastle in the next three. I think Werner and Pulisic could get attacking returns, but the returns we've seen from them so far is where they get in behind teams. And how likely are you to get in behind Burnley and Sheffield United's defences? They're quite short at the back, rarely concede more than one, max 2 goals. It's a tricky situation, but I just don't know what to do with Werner. I think there's a lot of people in the same situation. And then I know a lot of people have brought him in for Pulisic and for Sky as well. And it's whether we hold there.
I have Pulisic in Sky, and what's in my mind is his performance against Burnley last season.
Yeah, got the hat-trick, didn't he?
He scored, yeah, it's a hat-trick, yeah. I was going to say 2, but I think it's 3, isn't it? Yeah. Obviously ran the show. So if he did that, their defence was good last season. He could do it again this season. That's sort of in my mind, with Pulisic specifically. So I'm not going to hold for this week. But...
Yeah, no, I think that's partly the reason why I want to hold, Pulisic and Sky and Werner in FPL, is because, it's the memories of last season against Burnley. And I don't think Chelsea tackle the next 3 games in the way that they tackled the Man United game. They went in with fear, I think, and Lampard wanted to prove that, he can be a defensive manager when he needs to be. But they're going to have to go into these games kind of going for it, I think, and trying to score as many goals as they can. So here's hoping. Liverpool 2, Sheffield United 1.
Fantastic game. I have to say the tempo was insane. It was almost at points where it looked like Liverpool were trying to keep up with Sheffield United in terms of pace and chasing and running. Sheffield United, the effort they were putting in was just brilliant to watch. The chasing down, obviously Liverpool are known for that. Their attacking play, their effort, the work rate of Robertson. But yeah, I was really impressed with Sheffield United, to be honest. As a team that we, before the game week, were looking at as to one to potentially target attacking-wise, hence we're captaining Salah over, say, Spurs assets. I feel like Sheffield United I might not take so lightly in coming games. I think that team from last season is still there. As much as they're not had a good start this season, I think they played very well.
Yeah, they're massively missing O'Connell. I think he's the big miss in that back line. But I thought Egan had a brilliant game. Obviously made a couple of last-ditch interceptions, one obviously to stop Salah. There was a couple, I think, that got in there before, Firmino got a touch. So I thought, he played really, really well. Didn't really get the returns for it, but again, a good game. And you touched on the whole Salah captaincy there. We were so unlucky though, weren't we? Because
the post.
he hits the post, he scores, he's just offside. on another day, Salah scoring 2 and getting an assist in that game. And then
Alexander Arnold assist.
Yeah, exactly.
Would have been perfect.
Yeah, I think Trent, again, people are debating maybe coming off a Trent, coming off a Robertson. Trent could have holed. He obviously had that chance from the halfway line from the free kick. Almost caught Ramsdale out. Probably should have. The assist again for Salah. And then if it wasn't for that penalty, they keep a clean sheet at the end of the day. I don't think Sheffield United, Alisson made one save in the game. They weren't really, pushing to score a goal. But the pen was a pen, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of debate about it. Well, it's on the line. The line is part of the penalty box. And, yeah, I think that he gets the touch on the ball, but the way he's coming in, he gets the man as well. And, there's no error, I think, in Dean's judgment there, which is why VAR has just said, yeah, it's the pen.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, good. Because I've seen a lot of debates on Twitter there, and I've bit my tongue a few times. But yeah, it's a pen at the end of the day, so can't complain. Sunday's games. Let's talk about the first one and the one that means the most. Southampton 2, Everton 0. Get in.
Yeah. Delighted to see DCL blank, even though I've obviously brought him in on a wild card, because it's a great win for Saints.
It was.
Typical that he now does blank, but I don't care about that. The main thing is a great performance by Saints. Adams, again, brilliant. Yep. Great to see.
Like we said, I think as soon as he got that, lucky goal against Chelsea, or I say lucky, he worked hard for it, but it was a calamitous goal on Chelsea's part. As soon as he gets that, he's now, a bit more confident, albeit I still think he snatched at his chance that he did score. But he's now, getting the returns that I think he deserves. And he's very much a confidence player. I would not be surprised to see Adams now go on a bit of a run.
No, neither would I. I'd fully embrace it as well. I don't think I'll put him in my team, but I'd enjoy it as a fan. Did you see, obviously, Kyle Walker-Peters and Digne? Obviously, there's been some debate about this as well. I personally do think it is a red. I think he meant it because earlier on, he sort of goes looking for him. And I don't think obviously he's running at speed, but I think he deliberately does it.
See, I'm on the other side of the fence on this because he does go for him initially. And obviously we've seen that. But I think if he was pissed off at the fact that he then misses them the first time, he'd have just swiped him, taken him out, and it's a yellow. I don't think he means what he does. I can see why it's a red because, on second view and stuff, he effectively rides the back of Kyle Walker-Peters' ankle for about a metre, and it looks bloody painful. But I don't think that's what he meant to do. I can see why Everton are annoyed, but I don't think they're going to appeal because obviously they've said that they're going to appeal the decision. I can't see the FA turning around and saying, no, it wasn't a red because it is endangering an opponent at the end of the day. He could have probably snapped Kyle Walker-Peters' ankle. So,
I think I saw a tweet earlier where I think they've actually downgraded it from a 3-match ban to a 1-match ban. So they did appeal, and then that's what's happened. So it still upheld the red, but they've downgraded it from a 3 to a 1 game.
Yeah,
that's what I've seen.
Well, at the moment, it's a 3 game on FPL, but we know that they're a bit slow to.
I saw it on Twitter. I'm pretty sure it's been downgraded to a 1-game ban.
Okay, there you go.
I'm open to be proved wrong about that.
Yeah, no, well, if it has been downgraded, I can see why, but I'm glad it's still a red, and he misses at least 1 game. Obviously, Ings again 2 assists. The man's on fire. I don't think you can stop this partnership between Adams and Ings at the moment, and I'm bloody glad to see it because we've been needing a partnership like this for quite some time.
Yeah, great chemistry between them. Yes, we have. We were struggling to get one decent striker, never mind 2. Yeah. So it's great to see them both linking up so well. It's a joy to watch, really, to be honest. Providing we keep our defence tight, I think we're going to have a decent season.
Yeah, touching on the defence, I have no idea what Hasenhüttl was said to Vestergaard, but he's a different player.
what a man.
Yeah.
Man, like he has grown so much. Like he's the player we signed. Like we paid quite a lot of money to, I think it was Mönchengladbach for him, and he didn't really show his worth in the first few sort
No,
of games
not at all.
after he joined. Like I was like, is this another bloody Carrillo? Like another dodgy signing? But now we're looking like we're getting the money returned.
Yeah, because he still has his issues. Obviously, Chelsea kind of showed that we're still a bit frail at the back if you get in behind and you've got a bit of pace. But against teams like this, like Everton, West Brom, Burnley, we've shown we keep clean sheets. And in all of those games, Vestergaard's had a bloody brilliant game. Just, he didn't give Calvert-Lewin a single ounce of space in this game. Everything that came into Calvert-Lewin, Vestergaard was there. And he did his job. And it's really good to see. Like, we've obviously got Salisu in the wings, and it was announced that we actually signed him injured, which is why he hasn't made an appearance. But perhaps having that in the wings as well has maybe boosted Vestergaard's performances, because he knows he's got his chance. And if he doesn't take it this time, Salisu's there or Stevens there, and I don't think he'd get another one. So it's, to see him to come in and put in the displays, I just hope it continues. I know last week we said, oh, well, he's only 6.4 in Sky, potential option, but I wouldn't touch him. Apologies for that, because he's actually quite decent.
Well, obviously he's a threat in the air as well. So if he could start to go up for a few corners and stick a few in, then it would really be worth thinking about.
Yeah, whereas Everton, I think, struggled in this game. Obviously, they're missing Richarlison at the moment, which is a big loss. And they just didn't seem to get going. They didn't have an answer for the way that we were playing, which is credit to us at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it might have just been a one-off for Everton. I feel like they'll be back to their winning ways in coming games. I think it was just a bad day at the office for them.
Yeah, I expect them to turn it around against Newcastle this weekend. And then after the United game, they've got Fulham. So I wouldn't be, worried about the assets at the moment. I'd definitely hold. Right, next. Wolves 1, Newcastle 1. And if you fell asleep in the first half of this game, I wouldn't blame you, because it was fucking boring.
Well, yeah, everyone's joking about Wolves only showing up for the second half, and I think
the fans might as well show up for the second half of these games. Christ.
Yeah, I was obviously very disheartened by the last-minute clean sheet wipeout for me with Kilman.
Yeah,
obviously those of you on size got your clean sheet banked, which you'd be very pleased about. Maybe not in terms of team selection going forward. I've seen a few doubts about whether he'll lose out.
Yep.
I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I can see why there's a few doubts. I think they're still looking to find that perfect formation, which is why I'm a bit worried about Podence at the moment, because obviously you've still got Traore kind of continuously coming on with about 20 minutes to play, and I don't think that's the type of player he is. He's not really an impact sub as such. I think he wants to stamp his authority on the games, and he's not been given the opportunity to do that. So with a Podence maybe misses out and it becomes, Neto, Jimenez and Traore, that's got me worried. And yeah, again, with size, like, I don't think he keeps... There's a lot of talk about people saying that they don't think he necessarily keeps that wing-back role. So again, you're getting points at the end of the day for now. And he came off in the 67th minute this time, but he has played 90 minutes in the last 5 games. So I wouldn't be shipping him out just yet, personally.
Yeah, it's just a case of it. Obviously, if the curve changes and from next game he starts to not play. But yeah, maybe give it a game.
Yeah, and obviously Jimenez got his one goal again, as he does. I saw you took him out this time, which I was quite glad to see he got a return for me whilst you didn't own him. But yeah, really good goal. Took it very well. Weird to see him on the edge of the area from a set piece. I didn't quite understand that, but it came out to him, took it down and volleyed into the back of the net. Although I might be being really harsh here, but I think Darlow should have saved it. he's gone across and he's kind of pulled his right arm whilst diving left to try and get to it. And it's hard to describe on a pod, but on YouTube you'll see what I'm doing. And I don't think there's enough power there to push it away. So yeah, on another day, maybe a better keeper could have got to that. But then the same can be said for the Newcastle goal, because I don't think the wall was set up correctly. And then I think Patricio leaves too much space at that near post. And then in the interview afterwards, Murphy says that, he did a bit of research, saw that anything hard and low, he's got a chance, and he spotted that gap and he struck it brilliantly, to be fair.
Yeah, fair play to him. He's gone for it. Heartbreak for me with Jimenez leaving my team, but he had to go to make way for Kane, so I don't really regret it, to be honest.
No, it's understandable. We'll talk about our teams soon, but that is possibly the move I'm making this week. I think I can just about afford it. So, you mentioned obviously the size clean sheet. You mentioned the size clean sheet. And FPL people benefited from it, but I didn't realise Sky have a slightly different rule, which was new to me, and obviously we're beginners. I didn't realise that if your defender gets subbed whilst he's got a clean sheet, he still gets the points taken away from him if the team concede afterwards. So Sai's lost his clean sheet in Sky.
I did actually know that, but yeah, it's quite a sickener for us. We both, I'm not sure, he might be in both my teams. He's definitely in at least one. Yeah. So wasn't best pleased, to be honest.
No, that was a new rule to me, but now I know it, so I won't get as pissed off if I see something like that again. All right, next game. Arsenal 0, Leicester 1. I expected a lot more from this game. It struggled to get going. I don't think Arsenal set up tactically right at the end of the day. Leicester, sat behind the ball. I'd say Vardy was a sub. They had Barnes through the middle. I think they were a bit more solid in midfield. And then obviously with 20 minutes to go, they thought, we've got a chance here. We'll go for it. Brought on Vardy. Brilliant ball through under, chips it across, and Vardy's there and scores the winner, which came as no surprise. But I really thought Arsenal would take Leicester to the sword in this one, and they didn't. They just didn't look great going forward at all. What Aubameyang's doing on the right wing, I don't think that works. Just, he looks so lost, doesn't he?
No, yeah, exactly. He's obviously more comfortable on the left or through the middle mainly. So I'm not sure what Arsenal were trying to do, really.
No, Saka looked pretty good, but obviously when Saka plays out on the left, you either have Aubameyang through the middle or he's out on the right. And I've seen a few Arsenal fans talk about it, but I think they really want to see Saka play a bit more consistently on the left, have Pepe or Willian on the right, and then Aubameyang through the middle, because I think Lacazette's sharpness hasn't been there this season, and how he misses that chance in the first half, I have no idea. It's a tap-in, and he completely misses the opportunity. If they're watching that, they want Aubameyang to maybe be in the middle in that position, and I think he scores it. Yeah,
agreed. I think Aubameyang's obviously the better finisher of the two. I mean, Lacazette's by no means bad, but of the two, I'd pick Aubameyang. But to be honest, I'd advise against any Arsenal FPL player.
Yeah, same. Agreed. In Sky, I'd maybe go Gabriel because he's consistently hitting those passing tiers. Could get you the odd clean sheet, but yeah, in FPL, wouldn't touch him. All right, Monday night's games. Brighton 1, West Brom 1. Get in Johnson.
Absolute bullshit. Our goalkeeper gets 2 bonus points when he's conceded in a 1-1. I'm not happy with that.
Fantastic, mate. Those 3 golden saves gets me 2 bonus points. 5-point return from a 1-1 draw. Love it.
Just, it's basically cheating.
The game itself wasn't particularly great. I think summed up by the fact it was an own goal for Brighton at the end of the first half. There wasn't a lot in it. Brighton, I don't think, got going as well as they should. They weren't the same attacking force that I've necessarily seen previously. And then at 1-0, you'd expect them to maybe close the game out and show that, for all their creativity, they can get the points. And then to concede the goal that they did, just, I think, summed up the game at the end of the day. West Brom got the equaliser. It got a deserved point for me. Other than Lamptey, who continues to look quite good, could have scored. I don't think Brighton are that touchable at the moment. Mopé, I'm not sure what's happened, but in the last couple of games looks a bit bereft of confidence.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a surprise because he was looking great and one to bring in for people if they're looking at that price bracket. I think Lamptey owners can feel very disappointed, obviously coming away with obviously got a yellow card. And you'd expect more from West Brom, like maybe an assist or a clean sheet, but just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah, just a bit of an odd one. Like you had that chance, Lallana. Obviously, I thought Lallana should have hit it himself. Plays it to Mopé, and then Mopé hits Johnson. And I mean, it was a decent save, but couple of inches either side of the keeper, and that's a goal. And perhaps a couple of weeks ago, Mopé scores that. So
exactly. But thank you for putting me off Adam Lallana at the start of the season.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Don't know why I had it in my head that he was going to have a really good season. So Thank you.
Let me just go over. So it's 1-1, 2-1, 2-3. So that's the points that you'd have been looking at 10 points in 6 games there, mate. I think you should be grateful.
I am.
Right, and then the last game of the week that got everybody talking. Obviously, this was going to be the saviour for everybody's game weeks. It was Burnley 0, Spurs 1.
It took a while to get going. But what I did take away from it was the defensive performance from Burnley. I was very impressed with how they sort of nullified Spurs. I think Spurs were trying to do their thing and get going, but because of Burnley's tight-knit defence, it just hindered everything they were trying to do. It only took real creativity from like Son to actually break through.
Yeah. He'd
have to dribble 1, 2, 3 players to create any form of chances because they were that tight.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think Mourinho also, I suppose, has to take something away from the fact that it was only 1-0, because I think they set up a little bit more defensively, and perhaps he's got games in mind from last season where they've gone to clubs like this and they've struggled, or they've lost 1-0. So they've kind of had to deal with obviously the likes of Chris Wood and Barnes a little bit more in this game, and we saw obviously Reguilon missed out. Davies came in, and then obviously Aurier missed out and Doherty came in. And then you had Toby and then Dyer kind of in there at the back. And then even going forward, obviously Bale didn't even make an appearance. And I know he's lacking a bit of match sharpness, but I'd have maybe expected him to have at least maybe got half an hour. But it's almost like Mourinho didn't want to risk him in this kind of game. So yeah, it took, again, a brilliant kind of assist from Kane, wins the ball. Arguably one of the best partnerships I think I've seen in the Premier League in a long time, Kane and Son. And Son gets the goal again. So kid's on fire. Like
Great link-up play. And Son, just clinical, so clinical. Yeah. Imagine him playing with Jamie Vardy. It'd be insane.
No, exactly. You wouldn't often associate Son with a header, but he got one. And took all 3 bonus points in the game. I think obviously a lot of people captained Kane. I did see, though, it's 28% of players in the game at the moment own both. I can see why. And I think this week, including you, I think this week I probably will end up owning both. I'm still a little bit worried about their fixtures after game week 8. So obviously they've got Brighton and West Brom in the next 2. But then it becomes Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Palace, Liverpool, and Leicester and Wolves. So up to 15, it then becomes quite difficult.
Exactly, yeah. Don't bring them in.
But I think it's worth it for these 2 games. Don't you fucking dare. For these 2 games, I think it's going to be worth it. I think the returns are there for both of them. I fully expect them both to maybe get at least 2-3 goals and a couple of assists each in the next couple of games. I think they'll definitely tear West Brom apart if they go for them. Gamble on the double up for now, and then come game week 9, you could then maybe move, Son on to someone like De Bruyne, for instance, if you've got the funds there, or look at maybe a Kane back to a Werner or something like that if Chelsea have then, hit form and their fixtures have turned.
Yeah, I think you've got to be on one. I think if you're not on, you don't have to have the double up, but you need one out of Son and Kane.
I think looking at the fixtures, game week 9 seems to be quite a good swing for a lot of teams. Obviously, some like Spurs end up in quite difficult fixtures, but then I'm pretty sure it's Chelsea. If you look at the fixtures, yeah. So from game week 9, they play Newcastle, Leeds, Everton, West Ham in their 6. There's Man City are the biggest ones for me. You've got from game week 9, it's Burnley, Fulham, Man United, West Brom, Southampton, Newcastle. So City could be the ones to get on at that point. Maybe switch a Spurs to a City player.
That's a good shout.
Right, keeping with FPL then, how did you get on this week? Do you want to share your screen for those that are watching on YouTube?
There we go. I'll just get the screen up here. You can see I got 54. I played the wild card. Defence and goalkeeper, not much to speak about. Kilman clean sheet ruined. Alexander-Arnold blank. Target, no return. Some saves for Martinez. But what I'd like to mention is Zaha, as I mentioned earlier, obviously came in instead of Rodriguez and did a great job. 13 points. Son on 11. Ings and Kane bringing home the bacon up top. Calvert-Lewin, I'm sure, will get me some points in the coming weeks. On my bench was 5 points for Kyle Walker-Peters and 7 for Kufal. More annoyed about, I guess, Walker-Peters potentially than Kufal because I was closer to playing Walker-Peters. But I didn't really see a clean sheet coming, and it made no sense to play him when I'm playing Calvert-Lewin.
No, I guess it's just a bit of a kick in the teeth sometimes when you see that, because obviously your back 3 score the same amount of points as Walker-Peters got. So
yeah, and then you've got
a Kilman, last minute clean sheet wipeout, and then Alexander-Arnold obviously could have hold. So I think you were unlucky. The only player or 2 players
I know you
in this team.
Target, isn't it?
Or Matt Target and McGinn. They're interesting picks, fair play. But I'm just, I know you're showing me the 10, 10 and the 5, but I just think there are better options than McGinn personally. But good luck with it, because if it comes off, you'll prove me wrong. So
yeah, I think I'm going to have a little bit of faith in McGinn for the time being. I think he's had a great start to the season, and I was impressed with what he did in the game, to be honest. I think he had a chance near the end, just glazed over the bar. But in another day, I think he might have put it in the top corner. I think he will be, obviously, is a differential because you go Grealish typically. But I'm just having a bit of a punt on McGinn like I did on Kufal. Kufal is already proven me right.
Yeah, I think Kufal's a good punt because, like we've spoken about fixture turns, West Ham's fixtures turn after game week 8, and I think you'll probably play him consistently.
I think he's definitely, if you don't want Cresswell, then you got to go Kufal. I think he's a better option than Masuaku and the other West Ham defenders, with the exception of Cresswell.
Yeah, I've been really, really surprised by Kufal, and I think some West Ham fans have as well. I'll quickly show you guys my one then. So I also scored 54 points this week, which I was thrilled by, given the game week that a lot of people have had. Obviously, I got some nice returns defensively. I got my 5 from Johnston, as James loves. I played Walker-Peters, got the 5, and obviously 6 from Ayling. Disappointed with Trent. And then Foden came on. I was gutted that he didn't start, but obviously came on, got the goal. I think he probably deserves to start this weekend. I think he changed the game when he came on, got 6. Son, could have captained him, but I went Salah. And then I got returns from Jimenez. Werner and Calvert-Lewin didn't get me anything, bit disappointing, but I think they could probably both return this weekend. And then my bench is still Basuma, Lascelles and Egan, and I think it'll stay that way for now because I don't want to be spending my transfers on bench assets at the moment. I think I'll just hold on to them whilst, they're chipping away at getting the odd points. Very unlikely to play either of them unless their fixtures turn. So that essentially is it for me. this week wise, are you thinking of making any transfers, or are you happy with your current team?
Potentially one, but I may well be banking my transfer.
It's understandable. I've got 2 free transfers. I know that I want to use one of them, and I think I'm 95% set, depending on, Spurs Europa League action, of going Jimenez to Kane, which will give me Kane, DCL, and Werner is the front 3. And then I may be looking at moving Podence on. The debate is who for, but Barkley for me could be a pretty good option. So I might be, there's your cat. But yeah, I might look at someone like Ross Barkley potentially, or I could even, it'd be a bit of a gamble, but with a view to the upcoming fixtures, I could downgrade Podence to Souček whilst he's down at 4.9. So that's another thing that I'm considering, but you'll see at the end of the week. All right, let's move on to Sky, because I think we both had pretty reasonable weeks in Sky, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I will get Sky up.
There you go. Yep, so your first team got 57?
57 points. Key highlights, obviously, Son, Calvert-Lewin, disappointing for me. The 3-4 ones I captained on the match days. Happy with the Antonio return. A rather unexpected delight, to be honest. But an overall okay performance from my team. That's my lower performing team. Sorry.
No, I was just thinking, you touched on the whole captaincy returns there. I think it was a tricky week, captaincy, because the highly owned players that you'd expect everybody to be on, obviously the Everton players, the Villa, none of them returned, and obviously Liverpool. So that kind of kept scores down this week, I think, in Sky and in FPL. But
that's a very good point,
probably
actually.
a good week to have an average week in Sky. You've kept up with the crowd there. So, I think that score's pretty reasonable. Where's that team sitting at the moment?
So it's just shy of, just in 26k. It's the worst performer of the 2 teams, but I've got 4 million in the bank and a whole load of transfers left.
Yeah, there you go. Still 37 out of 40 transfers. So.
Yep, so still plenty to do with that team. Onto Black Hole Sun 2, which is the better team, ranked at 6k. Also the better performer this week, 6 more points, in 63 in total points. Largely down to Kane and Dallas.
Yeah.
14 points for Dallas and 16 for Kane. I went for the Dallas captaincy option just because I captained, I think it was Grealish on the other team. I can't remember, actually.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So I went Dallas on the other one to balance it out. So if one of them gets a clean sheet, I'll get the points. And Dallas was the one to get the clean sheet, which I was very happy with.
Yeah, it was a good little gamble there. I mean, I could have gambled the same way, but I felt Grealish was the best option. So I went Grealish in both teams. On another day, could have been, a far bigger hole. But yeah, I ended up with 6 as captaincy for both that night, which was a bit frustrating. I'll just show you guys my Sky team. So I, this week, got 60 and 70. So in my Hanging by a Thread, the first team, I ended up on 70 points for the week. I've got 4.9 million in the bank, and I've only used 3 transfers. So I really want to get De Bruyne into this team at some point. I think he came on, looked exceptional against West Ham. That's the one. Yeah. Mind blank there. And depending on Antonio's injury, I may well move from Antonio to KDB. I think that's the option for me this week. And then the second team, which is doing a little bit better than the first team, got 60 and only 2.1 in the bank. So I don't think I can afford KDB in this team. I've only used 2 transfers at the moment. The view could potentially be to move Mopé on to Ings, perhaps. And that reason is behind the fact that I think in game week 8, Southampton-Newcastle is the game that has been picked for the Friday night. Obviously, if no other game is picked for the Friday night, you're going to want to probably have captaincy there. I think Ings is a standout option, and a lot of people will have him as captain. So if he scores 2 goals, and gets a man of the match, you're talking 18, 20 points. If you miss out on a 40-point haul from a captain from the first game, you're struggling, aren't you? So in my mind, I'm keeping an eye on that. And hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have that confirmed with the fixtures, because, it's a week away. Obviously, it's the game week before the international break. So there won't be any games on the Monday that week, because the internationals start on the Tuesday and the Wednesday. So we could maybe see another fixture put on the Friday. And it depends on what that fixture is as to whether I move for Ings this weekend. So praying that we get the announcement for Game Week 8 in Sky by Friday. So I know whether I'm bringing Ings in for both the Villa and the Newcastle game. And then it's effectively, I think, a 2-for-1 from Mope. But I'll have to have a look at that.
That's a very good point, because I was under the assumption it was just going to be Southampton, Newcastle on the Friday. If there is potentially another game, then that will change my thinking.
Yeah, because there's currently 5 games that haven't been selected for TV coverage. And I think the debate at the moment is between Sky and BT over this pay-per-view. There's rumours that they're not particularly happy with it. I believe the Burnley-West Brom game got about 600 people that bought it, which is a pathetic number for a pay-per-view service.
Good.
I'm astonishing them. And obviously it's come out that the Premier League clubs are actually the ones that wanted this. So we'll have to see what comes of that. But yeah, just keep that in mind, guys, that obviously those fixtures for Game Week 8 haven't been set yet. And you're going to want to keep an eye on captaincies. Right. Time's moving on swiftly. So let's jump on to an announcement. And I really want, firstly, before I make this announcement, I want to thank at Twemplate, which is Fantasy Champman fan on Twitter. So we announced that we were going to do a big surprise on this pod. And that surprise was the fact that we're going to host a community Champman team in which we're going to put to a vote, the players, the kind of formations, the captaincies, run it as a dead team other than injuries generally. But we'll do a captaincy selection week on week, and then we'll still use the chip just to see how well we can pick it as a community. However, at Twemplate, had the same idea and posted, and we were more than happy for this guy to run it. And we've spoken to him on Twitter and went through DMs, and to be fair to him, like, he's brilliant. He came across and said, look, you guys do the pod, we've seen that you guys are involved in Champman. I don't want it to be 2. I'd rather community focus on 1. So he's let us take the mantle. And I know he wants to keep anonymous, but I know that he's in the Planet FPL patron. So you know who you are, mate, and thank you very much. But that's the announcement. We're going to host and run a community team, and I'm really interested to see the decisions that we make as a community for it. We will start posting about it probably in the next day or so. We'll get our heads together and think of, the 4 options for your first striker and blah, blah. And we'll just go from there all the way up to, the first game week. And then maybe the day before, we'll get you guys to pick captaincies, depending on, team leaks and all that kind of stuff, which I expect we'll get for the first week. So really looking forward to it.
Shall we move on to the questions?
Yeah, let's do it. Cool, we got quite a few this week. So jump straight in. Who is your pick of the promoted players? And that's from Fantasy Football CM.
I'll let you answer this one.
For me, it's quite tricky. I've got limited knowledge of Millwall, Watford and Man City in this game. I know that we've obviously seen Svensson, for instance, which we announced moved to Man City. But having watched Luke's streams and obviously reviewed the kind of pre-season games that have come, I think there's 2 standout, and I think a lot of people are talking about them, and that's Petkov for Watford and Wanchop for Man City. I think are the 2 options. I've also seen Howie in a lot of drafts, and he's a 4.5 million Man City defender. I need to look into it a bit more, but there must be a reason why a lot of people are going for him. So those are probably the 3 names for me to keep an eye from the promoted teams. Don't touch Millwall. Question 2, coming in from Motley Barnetts. Who would be your first choices for the following prices? Goalkeepers, 5 million and under. Defenders, 4.5 million and under. midfielders 7 million and under, and forwards 8 and under, all in Champman.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
In goal, Shay Given for me. It's a no-brainer based on the stats and my personal nostalgia with Newcastle. I think he, at that price point and his quality, I think he's worth getting in, but mainly because he's going to start, whereas maybe some of the Newcastle defensive options might get rotated or benched, whereas, obviously you're going to get those clean sheets with Shane Given.
Seems fair. For me, goalkeeper-wise, it would be probably Sereni on season 1 form. But as a punt, maybe Schwarzer. From what I've heard, obviously Charlton signed him towards the end of last season. And it seems as though he could take Kylie's spot. So it's worth keeping an eye out. But Schwarzer might be a good gamble. I think he's actually 4.5. So keep an eye there. Defender?
A 4.5 mil defender. I'm looking at Chris Powell if he plays as a cheapo option. That may or may not be a good decision. I need to look into the data a little bit more, see if I can find a better nugget at 4.5. But at the moment, it's Chris Powell.
I think he picked up quite a few points last season, so it's not too bad. For me, it has to be Emerson Tome of Sunderland. I think the guys have dangled a carrot there, and would be mad not to snap at it, because he could be a bonus point magnet. I mean, they don't necessarily keep too many clean sheets at Sunderland, but if they do, he'll pick up bonus points. And at 4.5, yeah, I think he's going to be straight into my team. 7 million and under, James.
Mentioned on last week's pod, and Gerrard is the pick for me.
Yeah, that seems fair. For me, Petkov, probably after watching Luke's streams, just seems to be the talked about asset for Watford. The other one that I think could be good value, and it's maybe because I owned him last season and benefited quite a lot, would be Jason Wilcox, which is probably a name that you'll get to know quite a lot, James.
Yeah, don't know at the moment, so that I'll have to see.
And then forwards, 8 million and under.
Looking at the data, I've gone Boxic for Middlesbrough. I may change. I did like the look of Dion Dublin, so it's one to think of for me. But at the moment, I'm on Boxic.
Yeah, he got a few goals last season. He was quite a good performer, actually. For me, if he was a regular starter, he'd be an absolute steal at 7.5 million, and that's Alan Smith. But that is 100% based on either Viduka or Keane being injured, because if they're injured, Smith comes in. However, sim data just seems to show that Smith only maybe plays 15, 20 games. When he does play, he can haul big time. And I wish he was a starter, because 7.5 million in that Leeds team, you'd go straight for him. But the other one that I think is really enticing is Carl Court. A lot of people are going to go Shearer, but I had Carl Court occasionally last season, and we've seen from Luke's streams, Newcastle are going to play a very direct style of play this season under Kinnear, and I think that could probably really benefit Shearer and Court, and saving budget given the value in some of the other players. I think I might have Carl Court on my starting team at 7 million, so that'd be my choice. Another Champman question from Benighted. With 2 free hits, would you consider free hit game week 2 so you can get a jump on the competition?
With the blanks occurring in game week 2, I think it's definitely a potential strategy to consider, made even more possible by having those 2 free hits. So you won't get those usual feelings of feeling like you've blown your chips early. So I think it's definitely a strategy to potentially do.
Yeah, it's a fair way of looking at it. The guys, I think, have been really kind, giving us 2 free hits. We got fucked over so much last season. And I think there's going to be a lot more carnage coming our way with blanks and doubles. So I'm going to be holding the free hit and trying to navigate that first game week, maybe holding 1 or 2 that do blank in game week 2 as a bench option. That's probably the way I'm going to go, Benighted. We've got questions in from Steve Bird, who has been really nice to us on Twitter. Said some lovely positive words, which we're incredibly grateful for. So cheers, mate. First question, what's your favourite Saints goal of all time? Oh, Christ.
Big question, and a tricky one. For goals I've seen live, Cuco Martinez against Arsenal stands out. That great 4-0 win, and what a goal.
Yeah, unbelievable goal.
Actually, I'm not even sure if that was in the 4-0 win. It might have been in a different game. But it was a fantastic goal where obviously it curved around the post. Sort of Roberto Carlos-esque. Fantastic goal.
It's the bend. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah, just the way he strikes it. No, that's a cracking shout. For me, the one I think I've most enjoyed watching at the ground in recent years has to be Boufal's solo effort against West Brom. I think it was unbelievable.
Yes.
Just, takes it past 1, 2, 3, and then, puts 2 defenders on the floor, and then, slots it in. And the fact it was such a dull game, to have that moment to then win it 1-0, I thought was unbelievable. The other one that I don't think I've ever screamed so much at home in my life has to be Shane Long's last-minute winner against Liverpool to obviously send us to the final of the FL Cup, where we won't talk about what happened against Man United, but to see Josh Sims run through the way he did and then play it along, Christ, I almost had a heart attack.
Oh, another great shout. I've never celebrated so hard. What a last-minute screamer. Like, I love hearing the sound when it hits the net with the fans going mental. Like, it would have been great to have been at that away day.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Another question from Steve is, in Champman, are there any players you have no interest in whatsoever?
Other than Hasselbank, who I'm ruling out because of your capable advice, I'm considering everyone.
Yeah, I think there's a hell of a lot out there that isn't worth touching. For me, I still have beef with Thierry Henry after last season. Until he proves otherwise, I don't think I'm going to be touching him. But yeah, there's some tough calls to be made, I think, that are out there. Final question from Steve. In Sky FF, rather generic, but have you any planned transfers this week? I think we've kind of touched on that a little bit. Antonio's injury will probably determine for both of us what we do, won't it?
Yeah,
it's worth holding if it's just one game out, because we know West Ham's fixtures turn and you're going to want Antonio. But if he's maybe ruled out for a few weeks, I think that'll be the choice for both of us. We've got a question in from FPL Locksmith. Hey guys, is it time to dump Trent Alexander-Arnold and just go for some cheapies and then use the extra coin up top? Cheers, fellas. Great pod. Thank you very much, Locksmith.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Smith, for the feedback. That very question I've been asking myself all week. That fear of a 12-point return is what's been putting me off, because I'm seeing these free kicks get closer and closer each game. And I feel like that free kick is coming. And obviously the assists as well, because he could have had an assist last game if it wasn't for the offside. I think his general play has been worse this season, which on the other hand does make me eye up potential upgrades elsewhere with the cash that I could do. But I think I'm still going to hold on for the time being, especially against West Ham. As good as West Ham have been playing, I don't want to take out a player before they play them at home.
No, I agreed. For me, like you say, Trent could have had a goal from a halfway line, could have had an assist. It's a clean sheet without a pen, and then you're looking at an 18-pointer. And I think if I take him out this week and he holds, I'll regret it more than if I keep him and he doesn't. So, for me, I think Trent's still worth a hold at the moment, mate. I think that brings the show to a close then. That's all the questions. And hopefully we've covered the lot for this week, obviously in FPL, Sky, and then that Chapman announcement, which I'm hoping you're all looking forward to. As always, we really appreciate all the feedback. We're available on all good audio listening platforms, and we also have a YouTube. So if you are one to watch, we'd love it if you gave us a subscribe and a like, maybe a couple of comments on there. Really keen to maybe push that, and you get to see our beautiful faces. Right, that's a goodbye from me then, James. It's been great talking to you, mate.
And goodbye from me. Cheers, Matt.
See you later.